Alright, first things first. Before we actually begin working inside of Excel, we need to learn how to open up the application first. Now, some of you may already have the Excel shortcut placed on your desktop. If you do, you can go ahead and give that a double click, which will open up the application. If you don't see the shortcut, what you want to do is go down to the bottom left corner of your screen and click the Start button. Now, my Start menu may look a little different than yours, depending on what kind of operating system you're on. Currently, I'm on Windows 10, so my Start menu looks like this. Now, if we scroll down to the letter E, we can open Excel from here, or we can search for it in the search bar, and we can open Excel this way. Alright, now that we have Excel open, we are introduced by the Start screen. Now, your Start screen may look a little different than mine, depending on the version of Excel you have. In the next video, we will learn how to determine what version of Excel you're working with and discuss a little bit more about what the Start screen consists of. Okay, now that we are in the Excel Start screen, I did mention in the previous video that your Start screen may or may not look different than mine, depending on what version you have. So to check or determine what version of Excel you're working with, what you need to do is go down to the bottom left corner of your screen and click Account. Now this will give you all the info about your account, but the button that we want to focus on is this one right here, About Excel. Give that a click, and here at the top in green bold letters, you can tell that I'm running Microsoft Excel 365 64-bit. This is actually a pretty important piece of information to know how to find, because down the road, you might have to install a third-party program to Excel, and you might be prompted with a question asking you, what version of Excel are you running? And you can come here to figure that out. Keep in mind that some features in the newer Excel versions are not compatible with the older Excel versions. So if you're ever working with someone, it might be a good idea to ask them, hey, what version of Excel are you running? And they might say, I don't know. And you can guide them here to figure that out. So you don't want to go into the project thinking you can do something and then later find out, oh, their version of Excel doesn't support this feature. Okay, now that we learned how to determine what version of Excel we are running, I'm going to give you a little walkthrough of what the Start screen consists of, which is the Home tab, the New tab, and the Open tab. Here in the Home tab, we can open up a blank workbook, which is what you would do if you start a brand new project. And then also Microsoft provides us with, a little Excel tour, some tutorials, some predefined templates. Now down here you will see all the recent workbooks that you previously opened. On the Pin tab is the ones that you manually pinned. So if it's an important file or a file that you work with a lot, you would pin it to here so you can easily get to it. And then the Shared With Me is any projects that get shared with you. Now for the New tab. The New tab, once again, you can see that there's a blank workbook if you want to start a brand new project. Now down here in the Office tab are all these predefined templates Microsoft has provided us. As you can tell, there's some calendar templates, weekly timesheets, and then you can also search for, let's say you want a quote template, you can search for a quote, and as you can tell, there's a construction proposal, business price quote, and a few other quotes. So that's pretty neat. And then on the Personal tab are going to be all the templates that you save. We'll get to this later in the course where I'll show you how we can make our own templates, and this is where they will be saved. And then the last tab is the Open tab. Once again, you'll see your recent files that you previously worked on, and this is where you can start to browse your PC to look for files you want to work on. For example, if you click this PC, you can go through here, or you can click Browse and open up the original file explorer that you're probably used to. So what we're going to start with is new, in a blank workbook. And in the next video, I'll explain a little bit about the Excel interface. Okay, now that we've created a brand new Excel workbook, this is the screen that we are presented with. And everything you see within this screen is called the Excel interface. Now there's multiple sections of the Excel interface. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you a little walkthrough of what each section does and what they consist of. The first section we're going to be talking about is called the Quick Access Toolbar, which is located at the very top left corner of your screen. Now what this toolbar consists of is frequently used commands, and by default we have autosave, save, undo, redo, and touch and mouse mode. Touch and mouse mode is actually really useful if you're working in Excel like on a tablet, because since the screen is smaller and using your fingers, sometimes it's hard to click all these commands that are very condensed together. So if we activate the touch mode, you can see how the commands are a lot more spread apart and it's just a little cleaner style. Now since we're working on a PC, I'm going to go back to mouse mode. Next, we're going to be talking about the Excel ribbon, which is located at the top of your screen and extends all the way across. Now within this ribbon are many different tabs, some that you may not see, such as the Developer tab and the Power Pivot tab, because we haven't activated them yet, but we'll get there later in the course. And within the tabs are command groups, and they are separated by these little lines. So you have the clipboard group, font group, alignment group, and so on. And within these groups are the command buttons for that group. So in the font group, we have the bold command, italicize command, underline command, and so on. And if we click this little arrow in the bottom right, this opens up the dialog launcher, which has even more commands related to the font group. But since the ribbon only has so much space, Microsoft did a good job at organizing and placing the most frequently used commands within these groups. And now next we're going to be talking about the formula bar, which is located between your ribbon and the cells of the worksheet. And this is where we're going to be entering formulas later in the course. And right to the left of it is called the name box, which shows the name of the active cell that you have selected. So right now it shows A1 because we've selected A1. Now if I select A2, now the name box shows A2. Now there's just one more quick tip I wanted to share with you, is that the ribbon can take up quite a bit of space. So if you double click on one of the tabs, it will minimize the ribbon. And this could actually happen to you accidentally and you're like, whoa, where did my ribbon go? All you have to do is just double click the tab and it's back to normal. Alright, just a little bit more about the Excel interface. Down at the bottom right hand corner of your screen, this little area is called the status bar. And within the status bar, we can select different views. So right now we are currently in the normal view, or we can select the page layout view or the page break view. Now these views can also be accessed underneath the View tab, and we can go back to our normal view. Also down here we have a little zoom bar that we can zoom in and zoom out of our spreadsheet. And lastly, the status bar displays various information about our Excel spreadsheet. For example, let's say we want to put in some numbers here in the cell. So we're going to put in 15, 10, 5, and 30. Okay? Well, if we select these cells and come down here, our status bar automatically calculates the average, which is 15, and we select 4 cells, so it counts the number of cells we've selected, and it sums the cells that we selected. So adding all those together is 60. We can also customize the status bar to show even more info by right-clicking, and let's say we want to put the minimum and maximum down on our status bar. So now, within our selected cells, it also calculates the minimum, which is 5, and the maximum, which is 30. In this video, I'm going to be explaining some of the key differences between an Excel workbook and an Excel worksheet. A workbook consists of multiple worksheets. So right now at the very top, we are in book 1. This is our Excel workbook. Now down here at the bottom, there's only one sheet. Later in the course, we'll discuss how to add sheets a little bit more in detail, but for now, just really quickly, I'm going to add a few more sheets by clicking this plus sign. Now I have 3 sheets that live inside this one workbook. The Excel worksheet is consisted of rows and columns. So we have the row numbers here on our left, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down, and the columns, A, B, C, D, and all the way to the right. To get to the very bottom row, we are going to use a shortcut key, which is Control down arrow. And if you're on the Mac, I believe it's Command down arrow. And throughout the course, I'll try my best to, anytime we use a shortcut key, I will also provide the Mac version as well. But right now I'm on Windows, so I'm going to press Control down arrow. And as you can tell, there are 1,048,576 rows. And now to get back to the very top, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to press Control up arrow, and if you're on Mac, it's Command up arrow. To get to the very last column, all the way to the right, we're going to be using kind of the same shortcut, which is Control right arrow. Now I know there's not a number, but XFD is equivalent to 16,384 columns. So if we do the math, that means there are over 17 billion cells in a single worksheet, which is kind of crazy. As for how many worksheets you can have in a single workbook, there is no limit. It's all based on how much memory your computer can handle. Now, earlier versions of Excel, there was a limit of only 255 worksheets. So I would strongly recommend staying beneath that, because the more worksheets you have in a workbook, the slower the application will run. Alright, currently we have an Excel workbook open. Now, we haven't saved it yet. So when you're saving a workbook for the first time, what we want to do is go to the File tab and click Save As. Now from here, we need to choose a location where we want to store this file on our computer. You can click Browse and search for a location there, or you can click This PC. And right now it says that we're saving it under My Documents. I could click this and change the location if I wanted to, but as of right now, Documents will do just fine. Now right underneath that, we need to give it a name. For this example, I'm just going to call it Test Save. And right below that is the file extension. Now by default, Excel saves it as a .xlsx file, which means it's just a plain old simple Excel workbook. But if we click this drop down, there's a number of different file types that we can choose from. Now really quickly, I just want to point out a few commonly used file types that you will probably see, which is a macro and enabled workbook, Excel template, a text file, a .csv file, which is short for comma delimited, and a PDF file. Now later in the course we'll discuss more of these in detail, but for this video I just wanted to show you all the different file types and how to save and change the file type if needed. But for this example, we're just going to stick with the .xlsx, so you can click out of that and we can click Save. Alright, so you can see at the top that the book 1 has changed to Test Save, which is the name of our workbook. So if we close out of this, go to My Documents, right here, we should see that Test Save's right here at the very bottom, and we can open that back up and it'll take us to our workbook. Now that we have our Test Save workbook open, I'm going to make a few changes in the cells and then save over what we already have. So if, let's just say I put hi and hello in these cells. Now if I click Save right here in our Quick Access toolbar, or I can go File, Save, that means we've saved all the changes that we just made, and next time we open this file, these changes will be here. So really quickly, I'm going to close Excel, open up Test Save back up, and our changes are still there. Let's say you want to make a few changes to this workbook, but you don't want to overwrite the original workbook. So for example, I'm just going to put in a 1 and a 2 in these cells. Now I'm going to go back to the File Save As option, not Save because that will save over my original document. I'm going to go to Test Save 2 and click Enter and close out of Excel. So now in my documents I have Test Save and Test Save 2. So if I open up Test Save 2, it will have all the changes that I previously made, and if I open up Test Save the original one, it's only going to have the hi and hello. Also, if you didn't notice during that process, we can open up Excel documents straight from the file location by giving it a double click, or we can go to File, Open, and then choose one of the files that we have in our recent folder, or go actually browse your PC under Documents and open up the file from here. Now that we've discussed what the Excel interface is and what it consists of, I'm going to go in and talk about how we can actually customize it. So for starters, I'm going to show you how to customize the Quick Access toolbar. There's 3 different ways to do this. I will show you all 3 just so that you get a little bit more familiar of how to add commands to your Quick Access toolbar. Now the first way, we can click this drop down menu. Now these are just a few commands that we can easily access. For example, if you do a lot of printing, put Quick Print up here. As you can tell, a printer icon appeared, so anytime we want to print, all we have to do is click that icon. Now another option to do is anywhere in your ribbon, let's say if we go to the Data tab, you can right click any command. For example, I'm going to click the highest to lowest sort command. I'm going to right click it and click Add to Quick Access Toolbar. Now you can see that icon popped up there. And then the last way is go to File, Options, Quick Access Toolbar. Now you have a list of all the commands that Excel has. Right now we're viewing popular commands that are most frequently used, or you can drop down and go to All Commands. And this will show you all the commands Excel has, and you can add anything up there to that Quick Access Toolbar. But for now, I'm just going to go to Popular and maybe put Sum, and then click Add. And when I click OK, now the Sum command is up there in the Quick Access Toolbar. Being able to customize the Excel interface can actually save you a lot of time depending on your workflow. So instead of going through the tabs and finding the commands, you can just put it right up there in the Quick Access Toolbar for easy access. Now if you want to remove these commands up here, there's a few ways. I'll show you both. You can either right click and say Remove from Quick Access Toolbar, or you can go to File, Options, Quick Access Toolbar, and click on one of the commands that you want to remove. For example, I'm going to click Sort Descending, Remove, Quick Print, Remove, and click OK. Now our Quick Access Toolbar is back to default. Alright, now that we've learned how to customize the Quick Access Toolbar, we're going to go over how we can actually customize the Excel ribbon, meaning that we can add groups, commands, and tabs on the Excel ribbon. What we want to do is go to File, Options, Customize Ribbon, and here's where we can add new groups and new tabs to the ribbon. So first off, we're just going to add a new group to the Home tab. So if we click Home right here and click New Group, and we can rename the group by clicking Rename, and we'll just call it Test Group. And click OK. Now you can see that we have a test group here in our Home tab. As of right now, we don't have any commands in this group. If you want to see the commands, for example, if I click Font, this plus button, these are all the commands within that group. So now let's add a command to our new group. I'm going to come over here under Popular Commands and maybe add email to our new group. So I'm going to click Email and click Add. So now you can see that the email command is underneath our test group. I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. And if you notice, if we go to our Excel ribbon, all the way to the right underneath our Home tab, we have the test group, which is the name, and then the email command. This is actually pretty neat. Even though Microsoft does a great job at organizing the commands into groups, but depending on what your workflow is, you can add groups and add commands. It's a little extra personalization that you can do to the Excel ribbon. Now let's add a new tab to our Excel ribbon. So if we go to File, Options, Customize Ribbon, and then we can click New Tab. And we can go ahead and rename the tab as well. We're going to name it Test Tab. Click OK. And as of right now, we don't have any groups. What I'm going to do is just pull this test group into the tab group. So I'm taking it off the Home tab and putting it into the Test tab. And within the test group, we still have our email command. So I'm going to click OK. Now on our Home tab, the email command, as you can see, has disappeared. But if you look right here, we have Test tab. And then if we click that, our group and email command is there. So you can have a whole tab that is full with groups and commands that are specific to your needs. Now if you want to reorder this test tab and maybe move it to the end, you want to go to File, Options, Customize Ribbon, and we can move the test tab all the way down here to the bottom because these are in order, and click OK. So now you can see that the test tab is at the very end. Now to remove the tabs and groups, all you need to do is go back to your File, Options, Customize Ribbon, and we can click on our group and we can say Remove. We can also come back to our tab and click Remove and just click OK. So now we don't have the test tab here anymore or the test group with the email command. Okay, so before we move into the next section of this course, I want to point out Excel shortcut keys, because once we start working inside of Excel, we actually might be using some of these shortcut keys. Now, depending if you're on Windows or Mac or a full keyboard versus a laptop keyboard, your shortcut keys may be a little different than mine. But in the Resource tab, if you click this link, it'll take you to the Microsoft Support Excel shortcut keys. If you go to the Windows tab, it will give you all the Excel shortcut keys for Windows. Same thing for the Mac. If you scroll down, it will give you a list of all the shortcut keys related to the Mac keyboard. Now throughout the course, anytime I'll use a shortcut key, I'll give you the Windows version and the Mac version. Trust me, no one is expected to remember all these shortcuts because everyone's needs are different. The shortcuts that you use often might be a little different than the ones that I primarily use. The fact is, the more shortcuts you use and try to remember, it will help you save a lot of time and help you become more efficient in Excel. The only way to start remembering these shortcuts is to actually practice them. So anytime there is a shortcut available to use, do it. And over time, once you keep on doing these shortcuts, it will become natural to you. So you know that Control C is copy, Control V is paste. Control Z, as in zebra, is undo. And throughout the course, you'll see more shortcuts that we'll use. And I'm not going to go crazy with them, but I will show you some of the ones that I found really useful, which might be very useful to you as well. Alright, well, without further ado, let's get into the next section of this course.